So Spider-Man Brand New Day didn't just reboot Spider-Man, it completed Peter Parker's origin story. For nearly a decade, we watched Peter Parker grow from Iron Man's protege into New York's greatest hero. And after watching this movie, I honestly believe this is the best version of Spider-Man we've gotten all time, hands down. And why, you ask? It's the first time in the MCU he isn't trying to be the next Iron Man. He isn't Kid Iron Man. He isn't trying to prove that he belongs with anyone. He is simply Spider-Man. Hey fellow Marvelites, it's the Marvelous Mr. A back at you with my thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day. And I have to say this right from the start. Spider-Man Brand New Day is the reboot Spider-Man that was needed in the MCU. For the longest time, Tom Holland has always been viewed as Iron Man's protege rather than Spider-Man himself. I mean, he couldn't help himself with the fact he literally got a Stark suit, the Iron Spider suit, all those things. And those things came with criticisms, whether they were fair or not, and it followed him throughout the MCU. But in this movie, he finally steps out of the shadow and truly becomes his own hero. He's not burdened by the past of Tony Stark. Nothing from Tony Stark's past is affecting him here. He is truly on his own. And when you watch Peter Parker in this film, you immediately can tell he's changed. It's not just the suit. It's not just the action. It's the confidence, the way he moves, the way he fights, the way he approaches every situation. This is the Spider-Man who's been through the fire. He's been through the crucibles. And honestly, I think that's because of everything he's experienced in No Way Home. After losing Aunt May and making the ultimate sacrifice by allowing the world to forget Peter Parker, there was no room left for him to have any hesitation. Peter knows what it feels like to lose the people he loves, and because of that, he is determined to never let himself be caught unprepared. He stays strapped up. He puts in the work. He became stronger, smarter, more capable, didn't take risks. From the moment we saw him on the screen, he just had that ooze. He had that charisma, okay? And what I've always appreciated about Tom Holland is the vulnerability he brings to both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He's never been afraid to let us see Peter at his lowest, because watching him rise in this movie feels incredibly rewarding. Now, let's talk about the way Spider-Man's movement was, because this might honestly be the best live-action Spider-Man we've ever seen, okay? Watching him swing through New York instantly reminded me of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man run. There was an elegance to the way he moved. It was almost like he wasn't just swinging through the city, he was dancing through it. Through every flip, every dive, every web swing felt effortless. But at the same time, I couldn't also stop thinking about Marvel Spider-Man 2 on the PS5, or 1, whichever one you play. The way Peter launches himself off the buildings, runs across the walls, diving headfirst into danger, stringing together these amazing acrobatic movements, felt like something out of a video game put into live action. Even some of the chase sequences felt straight out of the video game. More than anything, though, it reminded me of waking up to a Saturday morning cartoon and watching Spider-Man. And for the first time in a long time, it simply felt like Spider-Man being Spider-Man, not anyone else. And that really stood out to me was his confidence. Now, think back to Spider-Man Homecoming. He was hesitant. He questioned himself. He was still trying to figure out what kind of hero he wanted to be. And now in this movie, he doesn't hesitate. He dives headfirst into danger because he believes in himself, not just because he believes in himself. If he's not going to do it, no one else is. Oh boy dove straight headfirst into fighting the Hulk. He did not care. He was going to put hands on the Hulk. Ain't no one he afraid of. Only thing he fears is losing somebody. And this is not just him being cool. This is character growth. Now, speaking of growth, I honestly think this movie proves that Tom Holland has become the perfect combination of Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. For years, people have debated who's the better Peter Parker and who had the better Spider-Man. To many people, Tobey Maguire gave us the perfect Peter Parker, the awkward, nerdy, brilliant scientist with the big heart. Others argue Andrew Garfield gave us the definitive Spider-Man, the witty trash talker who moves like an actual spider. I think Tom Holland finally gives us both. He's brilliant, awkward Peter Parker, but still becomes the confident, witty Spider-Man we've always wanted to see. And the reason this works so well is because we've been on this journey with him. We saw him at the beginning in Captain America's Civil War. We watched him struggle to live up to Tony Stark's ideals. We mourned with him after Tony's death um, in Avengers Endgame and saw the repercussions in Far From Home. We cried with him when Aunt May died in No Way Home. We also watched him sacrifice everything when Strange cast that spell to erase everyone's memory. We've watched this version of Spider-Man through every bit of his journey, and now seeing the fruits of that labor, we can better appreciate it, the journey he's gone on. Now, one thing I wasn't expecting from this movie was exploring mental health. Peter's loneliness and isolation had begun to affect him physically through his arachnid side. I thought it was such an interesting metaphor because, if I'm being honest, I can relate to that. Sometimes when life gets difficult, I convince myself if I keep working, if I stay busy, I won't have to deal with what I'm feeling. And maybe some of you can relate to that too. But that's not how pain works. Ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. Eventually, what starts as emotional pain eventually affects us physically. You get exhausted, you're drained, you lose motivation. Depression doesn't just affect your mind, it affects your body too. And watching Peter struggle with that reminded me that we all wear masks, and sometimes those masks hide our fears and pains. Sometimes it hides our loneliness. But healing doesn't begin until we're willing to take off the mask and face what's going on, and honestly just talk to somebody. Now, finally, I think this movie reminds us of something that makes Spider-Man one of the greatest superheroes ever created. Spider-Man is nothing without Peter Parker, or better yet, he's nothing without the man behind the mask. Peter Parker isn't Spider-Man's weakness. He is the reason Spider-Man exists. His compassion, his kindness, his willingness to sacrifice for complete strangers, that's what makes Spider-Man a hero. Seeing Peter finally accept every part of himself, including his arachnid side, instead of separating Peter from Spider-Man, was a satisfying moment. Seeing him embrace all sides. Because we're not supposed to be two different people. We're supposed to be one. We can't battle the light and the dark, or there's parts of us we don't want to accept. They're all parts of us that make us whole. And honestly, I have no words for it, Marvel. This is the version of Spider-Man we've all wanted to see. I honestly loved this movie, not just because it was a Spider-Man reboot, but it finally completed the journey that had begun back in Captain America Civil War. After everything Peter Parker has lost, after every sacrifice he's made, we finally watch him become the Spider-Man we've been waiting for. And if this movie is any indication of what's next, I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man's stories, his best stories actually, are still ahead of him. Now I want to hear from you, fellow Marvelites. Do you think Spider-Man Brand New Day is Tom Holland's best Spider-Man movie? Or do you still feel No Way Home holds that title for you? Let me know in the comments. I read as many of the comments as I can because I just love talking Marvel with y'all. And if you enjoy this review, hit the follow button and join me in this timeline. Around here we talk all things Marvel, from theories to breakdowns to reviews and everything in between. And I'd love to have you here. Until next time, stay marvelous.